what's up you guys? This is Century Productions and welcome back to the Watchtower series. If you're new here, this is just basically a deep dive into my toy photography. I take you through my setups, I show you how I light everything, how I pose my figures, any and everything to do with my toy photography. So we got a little Bane and Batman shot here. So we got the Mafex Bane that just came out maybe a couple weeks back, and it seems like everybody's gotten this figure and has been taking some pretty awesome shots of it. So this is something that I pre-ordered way back and probably last year at some point. And I was surprised that this one came out when it actually said it was coming out. Usually with Mafex they get pushed and pushed and pushed. But this one came out right on time. Bane. I've always thought Bane is such an interesting character. He's probably my favorite Batman villain. And when I got this figure, it kind of made me do an even deeper dive on Bane. Read a couple of his comics. I read, Batman Vengeance of Bane, which is his first appearance. Read Bane Conquest. And then, what was the other one? Bane, the Demon of Bane, something like that. It's where him and Ra's al Ghul kind of basically meet up and through Talia, and they, their intellects are very similar, and it was just kind of an interesting meeting. It's like meeting of the minds, because Bane is he's like I say, he's such an interesting character. He is a genius, dude, and he was born in a prison where he had to fight for his life every day. And he's just such a badass character. He reads hella books. He's hella smart. He came to Gotham and basically figured out who Batman was almost immediately. And the other thing that I think I really like about Bane is he's always kind of been a physical match for Batman. He's bested Batman. We all know he's broke Batman's back in the Nightfall storyline. And his intellect is very on par with not only Batman, but a lot of the other very smart characters. So that's what makes Bane so interesting to me. So I kind of came up with a few ideas. This, obviously, as you can tell by the title, this video is going to be only the Mafex Bane. I got a few ideas that I kind of want to play around with. I haven't shot in like a week or so, so I'm kind of eager to get on the table. So I kind of set up a little shot here with Bane in like a storage, kind of warehouse, him kind of throwing Batman on the ground, and him just kind of coming in. This is just kind of my feeler shot. I have a couple other ones after this that are going to be a little bit more in-depth, but I figured this would be a nice little starting point for this. So yeah, not really too much with this shot. We've got overhead light behind that window, a couple lights in the foreground right here, light up there, a couple lights behind the Bane to light him up, shooting with a very low f-stop, and just using a bunch of props. So very fun shot to do here. And yeah, so like I said, there's not really too much to this shot, just kind of like a little feeler shot, kind of playing around with the Bane. And of course I had to whip out the Hush Batman. I don't have the Nightfall version of Batman, I just have the Hush. But yeah, so let's take a look at this shot, and then we'll check out some of the other ideas I got for Bane here. Alright, so back at it with another Bane shot. This one kind of just, I don't know, this idea just randomly came to me. I was like, I got the new McFarlane tumbler in from the Dark Knight. Shit, let me go grab it real quick. I'll show you guys real quick. I've been playing around with this thing. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see this. Oh shit, not well at all, but it's the tumbler from the Dark Knight Rises, and it's from McFarlane, and it fits 6-inch scale figures, and it is fucking sick, dude. I love it. Anyways, I was playing around with that, and then I had the Bane, and then I started thinking about, in the Dark Knight Rises when Bane is standing on top of the camouflage tumbler and he's like talking to Gotham. So I kind of was posing Bane like that with his hands up, like, exclaiming something, as Bane often does. And then I was like, damn, why don't I have him stepping on Batman or some shit? And then I was like, what Batmobile could I use? Because I want to use a Batmobile that's more comic accurate than, from a movie. I mean, it's not really that big a deal if I use the normal tumbler, but I had this Batmobile that I picked up from Costco like 3 years ago. I don't remember exactly when. It was from Mattel, and it was for some little kids toys, but it scales pretty good with 6-inch figures, and I added some weathering a little bit, you know, just some like random weathering bullshit on there that I don't really even customize like that, but it was a little too plain looking for me, and I was like, oh, you know what? This kind of works for the comic version, so I could have him standing on that. And initially I was just going to have him standing up there, but now I've got him standing on top of Batman, which is sick. I was like, which Batman should I use? I already used the Hush Batman, so I figured why not I use a kind of beaten up Batman. This is the Dark Knight Returns Triumphant Knight version, where he's all beat to shit after he fights the mutant leader. And I know that these guys never really come in contact with each other. At least I don't remember that from Dark Knight Strikes Again or from Dark Knight Master Race. I don't remember that shit, but I was like, why not? Just use these two figures, both by Mafex, both excellent figures. So yeah, I just kind of got him standing on top of him. Lots of stuff going on in the background here. I kind of went a little nuts. Initially, I was just gonna have like the red background. Actually, it was gonna be orange. I had orange first, and it looked like shit. So I switched it to red. And then I added in these cutouts. These are cutouts, guys. These are fucking huge cutouts, dude. Sorry, I'm cussing so much. I'm just getting over a cold. But yeah, these cutouts are huge. I've never been able to use them. I've had them for years. The thing about these big cutouts when you put them in front of a poster board and you're trying to light the cutouts and the poster board is you start getting shadows. So I don't know how well you guys can see that in the back. You can see it a little bit. You see how the cutouts are casting a shadow on the background? So you got to be real careful that if they are casting a shadow, that they're either not in your frame, or you can't see them, or you blur your background enough to where they don't show up. So I have my f-stop super low right now. I have it at like 3.5 or 3.2, one of those. So that really, you only see the action right here, but you can still see everything else that's going on, but it's got this nice blur to it, as you know, a lot of my shots do. So very cool shot. The lighting on this shot is insane. I will show you guys that right now. Okay, so here's another angle. Lots of lights on this one. You know, we've got the light that's right here to kind of, you know, hit Batman and hit Bane. We got the light. There's a light directly above right here that's primarily lighting Bane. Want to make sure that they're very well lit in that frame there. We also have to be careful of the directions of our lights, because if we have any lights pointing directly at those cutouts, it's going to show a glare, kind of like how you can see in this bottom corner right here. But luckily that's out of frame, so you won't see that in the actual shot. So this light's for Batman and Bane. This light's to light the cutouts, but you also, like I said, you have to be really careful of the placement. So as you can see, it's shining upwards, but it's not casting a shadow on our background back here. On the background, we have a little LED light strip. This thing right here. That kind of gives it that gradient kind of look. We want the light to start very strong at the bottom and kind of dissipate at the top. That also helps if you have any shadows on your background, is the darker it gets towards the top, the less of the chance you'll see those shadows. I have another light right here that's way off back here, but it's giving a little bit of side light into Bane. Let me pop over here right quick. Got another light right here that's shining onto the Bane so you can see his underarm. I have this weird thing about covering all areas. I don't really play with shadows too much in my lighting, so I like to, if I have a figure front and center, and that's the center of the action, I want to make sure it's nice and well lit, and then I'll play around with the lighting on the backdrop or on items in the background, stuff like that. Got another light right here that's giving him a little bit of backlighting right there. I have this main light right here, which is a red Ulanzi light. It's just one light. I got it beefed up to, I don't know, like 50% or something like that. And it's hitting them with a little bit of red. You know, we got the background that's red. We got all these buildings that in the frame are actually orange, but you know, they're kind of simulating red lighting coming from the background, kind of giving like the sense that Bane has taken over the city, you know? That's why this kind of worked out so well. But yeah, I want to hit him with a little bit of red. I want some of that red to shine on him, but I want to kind of counterbalance that with white light. So yeah, two more of these Ulanzis on the ground. These are to hit these cutouts right here, but also, you know, not to give any light on the background. We have our own little lighting situation behind the cutouts, and then we have a bunch of other lighting in front of it, as you can tell, but none of them are kind of hitting each other. Does that make sense? These lights back here are for this background. These lights are up here are for everything going this way. So we don't want any of these lights hitting that. I'm trying to emphasize that to you guys because that's where you run into trouble with big cutouts like that. So you're going to cast shadows. Someone's going to point it out and be like, God damn it, how did I not see that? So yeah, that's pretty much this whole shot. Yeah, nothing too crazy. I've done shots like this before. I'm just really happy I got to work in these big ass cutouts. So this is a fun shot. This is really cool. I'm really digging this Bane. Oh, one thing I did want to mention. The one thing I caught after I set everything up, or two things I want to mention. First thing is, you can actually open up this hatch and light the inside of the Batmobile. I set the figures up on top of it and then realized that, and I was like, fuck, I don't want to move these figures because then I'm going to fuck up their posing and everything, so I just kind of let that go. No big deal. The other thing is, I'm shooting from a low angle, and I didn't realize this until I basically had figured everything out, is that his articulation on his butt cheek has basically popped out, and it's basically showing just like half of his cheek, which doesn't really look very natural. Once you see the final photo, you might get what I mean, but not really much I can do about it. That has to do more with the figure and its proportions and stuff than anything that I would be able to change on my end. But yeah, other than that, it's a pretty cool little Bane shot, so keep an eye out for that half a cheek poking out underneath his, in between his legs. Alright, let's check it out. Alright, so in that last scene I was talking a little bit about how smart Bane is. You know, Bane is very intelligent, he's very cunning, and you know, sticking with those ideas, I thought, you know, when I was thinking about ideas for the character, I was like, you know, maybe him in a library. It's, in the first issue of his first appearance, they basically talk about how you know, he was a prisoner, and he was born in a prison, basically serving a sentence that was originally made for his dad. But since the dad escaped or something, they basically took his newborn son and was like, okay, you're gonna serve it, which is fucking insane. But regardless, very badass. So basically what I'm getting at, I'm rambling, but basically what I'm getting at is at a certain point, he's, you know, since he's in prison, he's reading a lot of books, like most prisoners do. I've never been to prison or jail, so I wouldn't really know. But, you know, he was basically just taking in all this information. He has an eidetic memory, so he basically remembers everything from the pages and can basically just store it in his mind and use that information when he needs it. So very interesting. So I thought about, you know, putting him in a library. So got these two bookshelves right here. These bookshelves come with the Diamond Select Bruce Wayne from the Gotham series from way back in the day. They're very hard to come by now, and Shardimus Prime actually gifted me both of these bookcases. And man, they're definitely invaluable props. These are some of the best props. Diamond Select has always made really great props, but this one just comes in handy for a lot of different shots. You know, libraries and stuff like that. So it works really nice here. It's made of a hard plastic. It's hollow, easy to transport, easy to store, all that stuff. So very cool. Once again, playing with this Bane figure. This figure is awesome. Finally switched out the faceplate. Got a new faceplate on there. This background back here. Let's see if we can focus on that background. This background back here is from a Star Wars comic. I'm almost fairly certain it's from a Star Wars comic, but it just looks so cool. You know, this kind of I could totally see this as a library kind of, you know, type vibe, I guess, with the hallway going really down there. So I wanted to shoot as low as I could. I couldn't really go any lower because his foot was basically playing with the framing at the bottom, and I wanted a little bit of space between the foot and the bottom of the frame, so that's kind of why I have him right here. And then using the wood foam base, it's a very simple shot. Just got the two bookcases Bane right here, the 11x17 printed poster way back here, and then just the base. And then we got two lights right here, as you can see on the side, because, you know, you always got to remember, if your background's got a light source in it, you want to kind of continue that light source, or, you know, play around with the light. So since there's it's obviously the sun is shining in this way, so I got these two yellow lights to replicate the sunlight hitting the side of Bane. And it also gives this really cool effect on the Bane figure, backlighting him, but also gives a really cool effect on these bookcases too. Kind of like, you know, he's maybe right when the library is closing or some shit, or maybe it's the sun rising, who knows, but very cool. Nice little fun little shot. So yeah, let's check this out, man. This is a cool one, and I wanted to make sure the other two shots I had a Bane facing the to the viewer right, and I wanted, you know, it was just, I was doing too many shots with him facing to the right, so this one's him facing to the left. And with him facing to the left, we get to see the very cool detail of his venom injection to the back of his head. Very cool. So yeah, let's check this out. Alright, got a little Bane shot right here. This one's obviously inspired by Dark Knight Rises. I mean, the cool thing about those Christopher Nolan Batman movies is each of them in their own right is like damn near a masterpiece in my mind. I think they're that good. By far my favorite Batman trilogy, my favorite take on Bane. Tom Hardy killed it as Bane in Dark Knight Rises. Like I said, looking at all three of those movies, for a long time I've thought, oh, Batman Begins is my favorite, and then I'd be like, oh no, The Dark Knight's my favorite, and then I'd be like, oh no, The Dark Knight Rises is my favorite. They're just all flawless, dude. I mean, okay, I guess not flawless, but to me they're flawless. I think they're just so fantastic. So I was thinking about ideas, and then I was naturally, this is the part where Ben Mendelsohn's character, I don't know what his name is in The Dark Knight Rises, is basically yelling at Bane, and then Bane's just like, bitch, shut up, and puts his hand on the side of his collar and is like, do you feel in charge? And then he kills him. I love that part of that movie. I thought it was so badass. It's very, dude, that Dark Knight Rises movie is gotta be the most quotable of all of them because of just purely Bane. And I have to admit, back in the day, I like to think that I had a pretty good Tom Hardy Bane impression, and of course I'm gonna do it for you here, so you're welcome in advance. Do you feel in charge? That's basically me behind the camera putting my hands over my mouth and my nose and saying that. I know for a second you guys thought Tom Hardy was actually in the room with me, but he was not. That was me. Just joking, of course, the Bane impression is probably shit now, but yeah, you get the idea. Very simple shot. You got, I guess we can talk about the shot now. I don't know what, I was rambling like a serial killer there for a second, but extreme set. I've always liked this extreme set. It's the mansion set. This is on loan to me, courtesy of Better Clever. I'm still using it. Whenever I have like an X mansion or a Avengers mansion kind of shot, I kind of go with this vibe. It gets the job done. It's pretty cool. The main focus is just on these two. Of course, when it comes to this, the two main things for me are the lighting and the posing, of course. Posing is, I don't know, probably the most essential thing to a toy photography, I would say. And then lighting, of course, is very important. Depends on who you talk to. And then composition and staging, all that stuff. But yeah, this is a pretty cool. Just a couple little accessories. You got the little plant in there, and then the that old-timey chair. I usually throw those in this shot. Just nice little accents without throwing too much stuff in there. Obviously, the framing will be a little bit more like this, so you can barely see those two things. But yeah, very simple shot. Just playing around with Bane. Bane's so much fun. Obviously, I don't have actually, I do have a Tom Hardy Bane, but this one's just much funner to play with, dude. Let's be honest. All right, let's check this out. All right, so we're shooting. This was probably the main Bane shot I wanted to take. In the first issue, Vengeance of Bane, I think that's the first issue. Basically, they give him, his backstory, basically how he was raised in the prison. You've heard me talk all about that and everything. I think the prison's called Pena Duro. I believe that's what it's called. Correct me if I'm wrong. But there's a very specific couple pages where it's showing him when he gets thrown into isolation, and basically the ocean comes into his room every night, and basically it's a place where they put people that are basically condemned to die, but Bane is so powerful that he basically fights through it and is able to survive for longer than anyone else in the prison and becomes a legend in the prison. And there's a scene that's very specific to this part right here where we got the water line and we got him basically holding his hands up to these bars at the top of his cage. It's the only way that he can get air. So I had to kind of recreate that the best I could. This is sitting on top of a diorama, and I got some chicken wire just over the top, and I've got his hands kind of just feeding through that chicken wire to kind of simulate, you know, him holding on. He doesn't really have a pair of hands that can hold on to stuff very well, so this was like the best solution for that. And then of course I got my trusty, if you guys have been following my videos for a while or following my pictures for a while, you guys know I use this blue cellophane wrap a lot as simulated water. Works very nice. I will show you guys another angle here in a second so you can kind of see how this is all put together. It's actually not as complicated as you think. I kind of put it all together in my head the best I could. The main thing I wanted to do was make sure it felt very wet, so I got a little spray bottle right here that I've been kind of hitting them with here and there. And when it hits this water, I notice this is the first time I've ever gotten this effect. It looks very much like water. So that's pretty cool. Got a light underneath, kind of hitting him with a little bit of the blue tint. That's kind of giving him some of that blue color. Then I've got a very strong, powerful light above him. And then, all this extra stuff around this, like I said, this diorama I made it and kind of just cut it out and everything. But yeah, this is looking pretty good. So here is another look. This is pretty, most of my setups are very just like kind of janky. I just kind of throw stuff together, whatever looks good. Doesn't have, as long as whatever's in the frame looks good, who gives a shit how you set it up behind there. But got a piece of dio right here, just kind of snuck that in the back right there. You don't really see it that much. As you can see, this blue cellophane wrap is being held up by a bunch of just random stands. I think these are mostly Mafex stands. I've done this before. There's a little hole cut right in the middle of this plastic, and I've just stuck the Bane right through it. Works out pretty well. The main light I got for looking into that hole right there is right there. So, and this is one of the softer lights. It's not a very harsh, bright, sharp light. It's got this dimmer on it. So, you know, we still want to create a little bit of shadows from here and there on the Bane to kind of simulate the darkness from beneath him, but also giving the light from the water coming below him. And, you know, just play with the shadows a little bit, but we do want a strong light kind of hitting him right there. Let me show you that light right there. As you can see, this is a, oh man, what the hell is this one? This is a Ulanzi panel LED. For the longest time I was using the Lume Cube panel minis, but those lights have a very kind of a warmer kind of feel to them. These ones are like half the price, bigger, brighter, more color options, including, you know, every color, blue to pink to yellow, all that stuff. But also gives a very cool light and also a very warm light, and the battery lasts longer. So over the last couple months, I haven't really been making a lot of videos, but I've been using these more and more, and they've turned into probably my favorite lights I use now. I kind of use them for everything. They do take a little bit to charge though. So yeah, that's the light I got right there. So it's this light, the one above, and I think that's pretty much it. I got another light facing towards the background, but that's not really affecting the Bane right here. Let me show you guys what it looks like from the top. Let me see. So yeah, that's what it looks like from the top right there. Oh my god, my camera's fine. But yeah, so that's pretty much the whole shot right there. This was probably the first shot I wanted to take, but it was the hardest shot to figure out how to construct, how to put together. Yeah, I was just playing around with the Bane, and I knew I really wanted to shoot this shot, or shoot something similar to it, so I made it happen, you know, and I think it ends up looking pretty good. So let's check it out. Alright, so here we are. I guess we can call this my finale of my series of Bane shots. What can I say more about this character, about this figure? First off, about the figure, I mean, I love this figure. It's really great. Mafex doesn't make a lot of comic book figures in the grand scheme of things, you know, compared to like Marvel Legends or DC Multiverse. But, you know, the figures they do make, they put a lot of effort into. And especially one like this. I don't think we've ever seen a Bane quite like this that's as posable, has this many interchangeable hands. I think they really just knocked it out of the park. This is just the perfect version of the original Bane. And you got a couple options for the face plates. I just think it's a fantastic figure, and I think you guys should definitely definitely pick it up if you still can. And the cool thing about getting figures is, even though Bane has always been my favorite Batman villain, which I probably mentioned earlier in this, is that I got to kind of dive deeper into the character, and I read a bunch of comics that I'd never read about Bane. I think I read Bane, One More Bad Day, Nightfall, read the first appearance, Vengeance of Bane, I believe, and his second appearance. But I think my favorite read was Batman Bane of the Demon, which is kind of the crossover between him and Ra's al Ghul, and they kind of, I mentioned this earlier, but kind of their intellects clash, and it was just such a really cool little mini-series that I really enjoyed. I think you guys should really check it out. Batman Bane of the Demon. Of course, we got to look into his origins, which is very reminiscent for me of The Count of Monte Cristo. I mean, they're almost identical in some ways, which has always been a favorite book of mine, favorite movie too. And I just like the parallels between those, and I like the making of a monster, or depending on how you look at it, the making of a man. You know what I mean? Bane. If you really think about it, deep down to his core, I mean, is he really a bad man for what's happened to him in his youth? It's kind of a contemplative type of thing. Of course, what he ends up doing is bad, but you have to look at the progression of what led to that. Basically, this prison he was born into is the Penaduro, or I think it's also called the Oscuro or something. It's called a couple different things throughout the books, but basically turned this man into a monster. What a cool character. Just such a cool character. This shot, let's talk about this shot. I made these cutouts. There was several different quotes. This is pulled directly from Bane of the Demon, I believe, and over the course of several panels, but I didn't get a high quality enough image to pull the actual cutout, so I just kind of threw these together in Photoshop and cut them out. Stuck them on this wall from this diorama. It's a really shitty, nasty looking wall. Kind of reminds me of a prison cell. And then, of course, like always, we got the little blue cellophane wrap to simulate the water. Of course, if I haven't already mentioned it, in the origin, he gets thrown into a cell that fills up with water every night, and he has to basically struggle and fight for his life every night, and that turns him into the man he becomes. And it's just so powerful to me. I just think it's such a powerful origin, and I really connected with that, so I wanted to capture that in my toy photography, which I think I've done over the course of all these shots. We took some serene shots of Bane. We took some of him battling the Bat, which is what most people take shots of, but there's a lot more to Bane than just him beating up Batman or Batman beating him up. So I think we kind of covered a lot of ground and a lot of different scenes with Bane in it. I didn't get to everything I wanted to shoot, not only with shooting the different white balances and the different colors, I also try to hit, different kind of marks with my shots. Like I had a blue picture, I had a red picture. I really wanted to take a green picture because, when you look at images associated with Bane, they're also heavily associated with the venom that he uses to bulk himself up and put him in that manic state. And when he's using venom, it's always emphasized with the color green. And it was something I was trying to work in, but I just couldn't quite get to it. Doesn't mean eventually down the line I won't pick this figure up again and be like, oh shit, I'm going to take a cool picture of him and I'm going to hit him with green. But just with this series of pictures, I've spent over a week now shooting just Bane. So it's time to move on to something else, but eventually down the line I will get my green saturated shot of Bane eventually. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed all these shots. It's a labor of love, especially when I get really into a character. I really go deep, man, and I try to do those deep cuts for those real comic fans out there. And hopefully I kind of scratch that itch for you guys if you guys are into Bane, or if not, hopefully maybe learned a thing or two about Bane while also checking out my shots. I really appreciate you guys. I know I haven't put a video out in a minute, but we're gonna get back on top of that. and just got a lot more figures, man, a lot more stuff to shoot. So just hold on, I guess. Anyways, this is Century Productions. Thank you guys for watching. If you got any feedback for me, make sure to leave that below. If you have any other ideas for any shots in the future, or any characters you'd like to see me shoot, or any comics you'd like to recommend, make sure to leave a like and drop a comment below for me. Always appreciate reading your guys' messages and try to reply to as many as I can. Not that a million people are commenting on my video anyways, but thanks again, and let's check out this shot, guys.